Watch out. Watch out. Good girl. Come on. Good girl. Okay, so welcome back to the cabin once again. Yesterday in my video, someone said, for the life of me, I can't understand why you have a cook stove and a fireplace. So in this video, we're going to answer that question. Why is there a cook stove sitting right beside a fireplace? But also into that mix on the other side of the log cabin is a huge Potbelly stove. And we're going to throw that into the equation too, because each one of them serve their own purpose. So let's start off first with the cook stove. It is the one that I use the least. The cook stove is a very good oven. This oven is sitting here at 500 degrees. It will bake a loaf of bread way better than either one of the other two. As a matter of fact, the Potbelly stove I don't use for any sort of cooking at all. Cook stove, mostly for baking. We have a firebox here, little firebox. That's all the bigger the firebox is. A damper that forces the fire to run across the top. So the fire is in here, runs completely across the top, and right down that outside. So that heats up this firebox area so that I could bake a really nice loaf of bread. Anything that I would want to bake versus a really hot fire underneath of it goes in this oven. And then, of course, the waffle iron, very easy. I can throw the waffle iron on there and make myself waffles with a lot less wood. Could I possibly do this over there? Absolutely, I could. This can do it with less wood and less heat loss from the house because I don't have to build a big fire. I don't have that draft going up the chimney. This actually would be more comfortable to use for a little cooking application. This thing was designed for cooking. Remember, the cast iron cook stove came after the fireplace. So there was a necessity, there was a need for something like this. And when this thing came around, most people stopped using their fireplaces and started using strictly a cook stove. But the fireplace has its purpose too. Okay, on to the fireplace. I love food cooked over an open fire. The steaks that I did in the last video, the coffee even, coffee in a percolator cooked over an open fire is extremely good. But there's also that friendship, that just sitting here watching that fire burn does something for your soul. You got the heat on this side, you've got the cool air flowing past you as it goes into the fire. You just can't beat an open fireplace. Remember, this log cabin was built in 1818, and this cook stove was about 1900, something like that when it was made. So this log cabin was built with just this fireplace in it, and people survived with just this fireplace. I think people were much tougher back then. They didn't need, a house at 72 degrees. So as far as for heating goes, I don't really burn the fireplace to heat the cabin. It would burn up. If you was to keep a fire burning like that all day long, every day, you would burn up a lot of wood really fast. And the only part of the cabin that it would heat would be the kitchen, the loft area. Like I was saying earlier, people lived differently. So You know, you might get up to a house that's 40 or 50 degrees and you build a fire, and you can get warm really quick compared to 40 or 50 degrees. You know, sitting here now, it's borderline too hot. I'm almost too close to that fire. But I also have a fire burning behind me and the Potbelly's burning as well. It's a little deceiving. This fireplace, strictly made, as far as I'm concerned, the fireplace is strictly used for cooking and friendship. I sit here at the kitchen table. It's where I do my writing. It's where I do my thinking. And having that fire, even if I have my back to it, having that fire behind me just warms your soul. So that's what the fireplace is best for. Now, on to the Potbelly. Let's go over and talk about it, because believe it or not, out of the three, the Potbelly is the one I use the most. Okay, last but definitely not least, the Potbelly stove. This is what I burn almost all the time. I talked about how the fireplace is like a man's best friend. But if a man's been out working all day and he's cold and just really needs to get heated up to the core, the Potbelly's his best friend. This thing, with very little wood, I say little, but this thing can hold a massive amount of wood. But with very little wood, this thing is capable of heating the entire cabin, including everything else that I have that's outside of the walls of the cabin. Remember, I have 2 other bedrooms that are further back. Now, it's a little bit more difficult to get that heat to go back there, but it doesn't draw the air out of the house. It heats what is in here. The difference between a Potbelly and a fireplace is that a fireplace requires a lot of air to be lost from the home in that smoke that goes up the chimney. So every drop of smoke that goes up that chimney has to be replaced with new air. So the entire size of the fireplace opening, air is being drawn through and up the chimney. Produces a lot more BTUs, but loses a lot more BTUs. Where this one, the only air that's going to that fire is through these little holes and these at the bottom. And once this thing is going, it can all be closed up like that. And now the only air that's going in that is what's being sucked through cracks. So it doesn't have the heat loss, and it is one gigantic heat exchanger. So as the metal gets hot on the Potbelly stove, it exchanges the heat that's inside of it to the outside. So it heats up the existing air that's in your home. It doesn't have to replace it all every 20 minutes, which is about what that fireplace does. 20, 30 minutes, it'll suck every drop of air out of my home and have to replace it with whatever is outside. So if it's 50 degrees, the fireplace does really good. Fahrenheit, that is. If it's 50, I'm not sure what the math is on Celsius, but I think if it's 50 degrees Celsius, you're not going to be burning a fire. But if it's negative 10 degrees Fahrenheit outside and you burn that fireplace, every 20 to 30 minutes, you're replacing all of your 70-degree air inside with that negative temperature. So therefore, you could never catch up. With this, it doesn't have that swap. You're not swapping all the air in your home. You're keeping your air. You're just venting out the smoke and exchanging the heat. So this thing, and it's getting really hot now that I just put wood in it. This thing is capable of producing, let's say, 1,000 times more heat than the fireplace is with the same amount of wood. I might, if I burn my fireplace all day long, I would probably burn 2 or 3 of these wheelbarrow loads, where with the Potbelly stove, I can burn, well, say that wheelbarrow load might last me 3 days, 4 days in here for the Potbelly stove. because right now I've really got it burning way hotter than it needs to be. It's got a damper on it, so I can damper it way back, and this is the intended use for this style damper. People with airtight wood stoves should not be using these. They're not made for it. It's made because this doesn't have any gaskets. And without the damper, it will run out of control because it will be able to suck the air that it needs. So by killing the draft a little bit, you get it to burn a lot colder and produce the heat, but yet not run out of control. I do have a fan on the wall, an old fan that I do run to blow the heat off of this. The surface of this stove burning all day long, heating everything. You can know it would not be wise to do it now because I did not have the fan running. But with the fan running, I can lay my hand on top of this, and it's really not that hot now. But yet, as you can see, this is Little Pig. That's her favorite place. I hope that helps explain the reason why there was a lot of thought process that went into building this, and there was a very distinctive vision, you could say, and it required all this. Now remember, a lot of people, they only think about the amount of room you lose. A Potbelly stove sits pretty far out in the room, so you lose a lot of room here. The fireplace, of course, is built on the inside, so you lose a lot of room there. When I built this, I was living by myself with just one dog, and room really wasn't of concern. And now that my daughter has moved home, it's still not of concern. We have way more house here than we need. Big kitchen table, the fireplace is on the inside. It adds to the warmth and the comfort of the home. And we have, for the two of us, there's 10 times more house here than what we need. So I like the things being exactly like they are, and it was my design and my home. So anyway, take care. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will catch you on the next one.